I just wanted to confirm that we had everyone who was in the waiting room in the room. All right, good morning. My name is Amanda Byers. I am the president and CEO of the Beaver Creek Chamber of Commerce. We want to thank all Greene County chambers, their members, and our legislators for taking the time to join us today. We know this is not exactly how we had anticipated this event going, but we're excited that you're all able to be here with us. Before we begin, a few housekeeping rules. Please be sure that your microphone is muted. All of our attendees should currently be muted. The legislators will unmute themselves for the presentation and then also for the Q&A. Legislators, if you have an issue doing so, Alyssa is our moderator, and she will be, or our organizer, I apologize, and she will be able to unmute you as well. At the bottom of your screen, you want to make sure that you can click the chat and participants. The chat will be the area that you will enter the questions, and then the participants allows you to see all of the names of everyone in the room. All of you should see my screen, which I'm currently sharing. We just have a presentation for the flow of this morning so that you guys can see that. Each representative speaking will have 5 minutes to provide their remarks. If you have a question during the meeting, please ask that question in the chat window. That question will then be passed along to me, and we've built time at the end for questions to our legislators. I want to thank the other chamber directors for partnering with us on this event. From the Bellbrook Sugar Creek Chamber of Commerce, we have the Executive Director, Chris Ewing. From the Fairborn Area Chamber of Commerce, we have the Executive Director, Matt Owen. For Xenia Area Chamber of Commerce, we have President Alan Liming. And Yellow Springs Chamber of Commerce, we have Executive Director, Karen Wintrow. Thank you to all of you for inviting your members to join us today. At this time, we're going to go ahead and get started with the speakers. We do have an extremely full agenda, so we want to make sure we have enough time to get to everyone and also for their questions at the end. So I will introduce each legislator or their staff person who's in attendance this morning. We have chosen to not use bios to allow for added time for questions at the end for each of you. So at this time, I would like to welcome Mike King from the office of Senator Sherrod Brown.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here on behalf of U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown. Thank you so much for your time this morning during this difficult days for our state and our nation. Something I just want to share with you that the Senator and his colleagues in Congress have been very busy working on various packages, as you all know, the CARES Act. Those packages were developed to address economic relief, also to enhance our capacity to deal with this pandemic. A priority of Senator Brown's has been looking out for small businesses and workers. As you know, he's the ranking member of the Banking Committee, and the Federal Reserve has made unprecedented moves to stabilize the economy. And you can kind of see a result of that with the stocks rising. But the biggest issue that he's been working with is the PPP program and developing how we could do a better job of getting support to small businesses like many people on this call. So just in brief, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. I can share my contact information. But we're looking at a fourth package. He's been in conversations with the White House and Secretary Mnuchin, negotiating, supporting our state and local governments. That is crucial. But also figuring out kind of where do we go from here to stabilize our economy, to make sure that we're putting, we're keeping businesses open and doing each and everything that we can do to support and stabilize small businesses and just the economy as a whole. That's my briefing, but again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. I can connect you with the right person. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mike. We will have information at the end for each of the representatives that are in attendance today. So the last slide will include phone numbers and contact information for each of the ones on the call. All right, at this time, I would like to welcome Sam Bain from the Office of Senator Portman.
Thank you, Amanda. Good morning, everybody. It's great to have you all on this morning. One of the things our office has been working on the last few weeks has been staying in touch with various constituents. The senator has held probably nearly several dozen conference calls with nonprofits, hospitals, chambers, groups like the Dayton Development Coalition. So as the economy slowly begins to reopen, it's really important that we hear from businesses. So we've been trying to do our best to make sure that we're hearing from them. So there's no doubt that COVID-19 has affected all of us. Millions of Americans have lost their jobs. And the last report I saw to the Dayton Daily News, I think the unemployment rate in the Dayton area is between about 16 and 20%. So normally this time of year, our office would begin to prepare for bills like the Jobs Act or the National Defense Authorization Act. And all those issues are still important, still being worked on, but most of our efforts have been towards combating COVID-19 and the coronavirus. So as Mike mentioned, the CARES Act was passed a few weeks ago. Many of you by now are probably familiar with that, but as it was passed, it included about $4.3 billion for the CDC as well as local and state health departments. Included a lot of money for businesses. I'll get into the PPP loan here in just a minute. In Greene County, being such a big military community, there's some support in there for the Department of Defense as well. There was about $17 billion set aside for businesses that are crucial to maintaining national security. That would include some defense contractors, and another $20 billion set aside for the VA. The biggest, and I should say most popular part of the bill probably for businesses was the payment protection program. As you all know, those are the loans that can be forgiven if they're used towards payroll, rent, utilities, things like that. There was about $350 billion of that passed, as well as other funds passed for businesses that are larger, and the PPP program is obviously for businesses under 500 employees. And so the payment protection program was pretty popular, and those funds ran out pretty quickly. And the first round of funding, just in Ohio, there were 60,000 loans totaling about $14 billion. And again, that's just in Ohio. And last week, you may have saw in the news that since that money ran out, Congress put additional funding back into that, about another $320 billion. And since then, as of Wednesday, there's been about 960,000 loans nationwide, totaling $90 billion. And so I do want to encourage you, those funds ran out quickly the first time. They'll be expected to run out quickly this time, since some of the applications and people in the queue started to apply as of Monday a few days ago. So if you yourself or of another business hasn't applied for that, I would encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. In addition to the bill that was passed last week with additional payment protection program funds, included with that was another $75 billion for healthcare providers, another $60 billion in disaster loans, and of course, $25 billion for additional testing across the country. Widespread testing across the country and just getting it everywhere and getting it in a big supply is really important as we begin to reopen the economy. And so Senator Portman was actually appointed to President Trump's Opening Up America, again, congressional group. So that's one of the things they're going to be looking at that. And as DeWine mentioned this week, there's been major improvements on increasing testing, and a lot more needs to be done as we continue to reopen. Congress is headed back, the Senate is headed back to DC next week. They'll be in session. And we'll begin to talk about the next stimulus package. So I've heard from probably a lot of you on this call and a lot of other businesses on what should be in that. I know I've heard from a lot of chambers about 501c6 organizations not being included in that. We've also heard that there needs to be flexibility with the 8-week period to use some of the payment protection program funds, as well as concerns about childcare funding. We know that's particularly important with employees going back to work If you have kids, they're going to need childcare. So since the Senate isn't headed back till next week, I don't have a specific framework of what that bill looks like, but those concerns I've just mentioned is what we've heard about. So those things will all be on the table, and hope to have a good idea of what the next stimulus bill looks like in the next coming weeks. So in closing, I just want to reiterate how important it is that we all stay in touch. If you have issues that come up that we can help with, please let us know. I've been working with Mike King, who just spoke from Brown's office, Senator Portman and Brown. I've been working together to really get the American people the help they need. So if you have issues you need help with, please be sure to reach out. Again, thank you for listening, and thanks for all you're doing to support businesses in Greene County.
John Mitchell, I have a question.
John, we're going to hold questions until the end. If you'd please post it in the chat, and then we can go ahead and get that question presented forward for you. Thank you, Sam. We appreciate it. At this time, we have a video. Congressman Turner was not able to make the call today. However, he has a pre-recorded video for you, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward to that.
Hi, I'm Congressman Mike Turner. I hope you are all staying safe. Like many other communities around the nation, ours has felt the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. But I'm proud to say that I have witnessed many people rise to the occasion of keeping those around them safe, whether it be by donating food or simply staying at home. Last week, I was in Washington to vote on another bill to bring relief to small businesses and children's hospitals struggling financially as a result of this pandemic. We recently passed legislation that provided economic impact payments for individuals and families. I've also acted to support increased unemployment benefits and extension of student loan repayment deadlines. Additionally, these relief packages have channeled federal funds into our local healthcare facilities to help those on the front lines and prevent and mitigate the damage of coronavirus. Recently, our local healthcare facilities have received $1.7 million federal dollars in funding as a result of the CARES Act. I'm hopeful that our community will continue to support one another during this time. I will continue to do my part and support legislation that assists the businesses and individuals of Greene County. Thank you.
Marty, I want to say thank you for helping us arrange that and moving forward.
Hi, I'm Congress.
Apologies. All right, at this time, I would like to welcome Kenny Henning from the Office of Secretary of State Frank LaRose.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, Kenny.
Hey, so first off, I just wanted to congratulate all the individuals who participated in the all-male primary election that we just got over. Today does feel like it's March 80th. It's been a really long couple months, and with the election being extended until the 28th, we were really glad to finally have got that over. Over 33,000 vote-by-mail ballots were sent out in Greene County, and of my 14 counties, I did spend the most time in Greene County. Greene County has fantastic election voting machines, and they are set for the general election, but they weren't necessarily prepared for an all-male primary election. Greene County is a paperless county in regards to their voting systems, so we did have some hiccups with ballots being scanned into the systems because of the folds and the creases, etc. So just major hats off to our partners at the Greene County Boards of Elections. They worked so hard for the entire month after March 17th to make sure the election happened smoothly. I know that there were some hiccups with getting ballots out due to vendor issues, but in the midst of a pandemic, they were still able to have a successful election pulled off. I know many Greene County residents went and voted in person on the 28th if they never received their ballot. I was there almost all day, and there was just a lot of gratitude for the work the board was doing under these historic circumstances. So I just wanted to thank the Greene County Board of Elections for the work they did. Our office is staying busy working with the boards as they work to certify the election results. As of Thursday, there were still over 7,500 ballots out in Greene County. Many will be returned this week. I have a scanner in which I go around to the boards of elections to read the orange fluorescent code on the back of mail, and then we can identify when those ballots were sent. If they were postmarked by Monday, they will count towards the certification. If not, they will not. But I just wanted to thank you all for having patience with the Board of Elections during the time. Congratulations to the individuals who won their races. Thank you to the individuals who didn't but still participated. That is our democracy in action. So thank you all. If there's anything we can do to be helpful moving forward, let me know. After we get the certification, we'll be gearing up for the general election, and the business service division side of our office is staying very busy also. Businesses are still filing here in the state. We are working really closely with our federal partners, especially at the SBA, to help businesses get their payroll protection monies from the grants that were passed. We've seen some successes happen with that, but I just wanted to say thank you for hosting this today, and thank you for participating. And if you have any questions, please comment them in the bottom and we'll answer it at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenny. We appreciate the update, and thank you for joining us this morning. All right, at this time, we have Senator Bob Hackett with us today. Senator, it's yours.
Good morning. These are definitely strange times, but we will work and we'll get through it. First of all, I want to thank so many people that work so hard on this pandemic, from the healthcare workers to the first responders, to those who work in essential industries. I can't thank them enough. They are our heroes. I also want to thank those that have donated supplies, labor, and money to help their neighbor and businesses. Again, we can't thank them enough. Governor DeWine and his people have worked so hard to get in front of this pandemic, and he has continually tried to make the citizens of Ohio safer. A great shout out to the job that he is doing. And I understand that many of those who want the business completely reopened right now, they still understand that the governor is still trying to protect the citizens of Ohio. You know, I actually am in a strange dilemma. You know, most people know that I'm a businessman senator, and I'm Senate chair of the Banking and Senate's Insurance Committee. And normally as a businessman, I'd be chomping at the bit to get back working full time. And as an investment advisor, I'm really worried about the economy and how long it will take us to recover. But I'm age-wise, I'm in a group that must be careful, plus I have a medical condition that puts me in a slightly higher risk. I've had so many calls from constituents and clients pushing hard to get Ohio reopened for business, but I've had a lot of calls asking that we remain sheltered at home until the virus can be contained and solved. Even in our Senate caucus teleconference, we talk on many questions. I mean, one thing that comes up all the time is the rural areas don't seem to be hit as hard as the bigger city areas. Why are the rules going to be the same throughout the state? But we understand you have to have consistency, and if you have rules, different people will slip into other counties to be able to operate. And we want, the end result would be a spread of the virus, and we don't want that. But the point I want to make, the rural counties, towns, and villages have been much more affected by the cure than the virus, but this can change overnight. We have to be careful. Remember, more people have been killed by this virus than that were killed in Vietnam. The feds are working really hard, and you've heard them talk, generating billions of dollars to both individuals and business. But one area I want to touch on is the local and state, this position the local and state governments are. Remember, the state of Ohio must operate on a balanced budget. And when we get back together, we will have a budget correction bill in the weeks ahead. We have to balance. And the same applies to our local governments. Take the counties. They run on sales tax revenues, and we know how much that's been cut. You know, Marty, I want Congressman Turner and the rest of the federal legislators to understand that both local and state governments need more help. And the state will not be in the position this time to help the locals. I saw where Senator McConnell was reconsidering about another round of relief, with much of the funds going to local and state governments. But once again, I say we must find a way to reopen Ohio for business, but at the same time protect the citizens of Ohio. Governor DeWine has come out with guidelines this week, and they've been changing all over the course, but you know, he's trying to get it right. He's being advised by businesses all over the state, and he's trying to get it right. But the key is, you know, we have to wear the mask, we have to have the right spacing and the continuous hand and area washings. I agree that making changes in the guidelines are right because we want to get it right before they go in effect later today. You know, one thing I forgot, another set of heroes that deserve a shout out is those companies in essential industries that actually have gone above and beyond what is required in making their work environment safe for their employees. So I really commend them. We'll be back in session either next Wednesday or the following week to work on legislation to further help us navigate through this pandemic. Once again, I am working to help local businesses who are allowed to reopen. I want to protect them for in case they get a lot of these different types of lawsuits that come out of the woodwork. You know, we have to protect our business community, and I am strong in trying to develop legislation to do that. And in closing, I want to touch on some areas the state is working. Unemployment is at a level we've never reached before, and you've seen the number of employees, job and family, has increased at the state level to deal with this. We realize, you know, that there's talk to increase the 8-week period. Remember, one of the positives of the 8-week period is paying a little higher than the normal unemployment payment at that time. The feds have refilled the funds, as we've heard, on the PPP dollars, and they've changed the system a little to protect some of the smaller counties that are having trouble and the smaller banks of getting their clients in. One other point I want to make, talk to your local government officials in your chambers, et cetera, because we've heard from all over the state there are very small loans available, et cetera, that can help people get through this. The associations for all these people are working hard, and they're searching high and low for these programs. One point everybody has to stand, there will be no capital budget. Sorry about that, but there's just no funds at this point in time. If we get a decent turnaround, maybe at the beginning of the year next year, that we can discuss and will come up again, but now we can't afford it. I know there'll be questions, and I can't wait to answer those. I can't believe I've been here for 7 weeks. I haven't worn a tie for 7 weeks, and I've been sheltered at home. But listen, I thanks for all your supports throughout the years and allow me to speak here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We truly appreciate you joining us today. At this time, I'd like to welcome Representative Rick Corrales.
Okay.
There you go, Rick.
Thank you. And thank everyone for being out there. As Bob said, unique times, unprecedented times, and we're doing the best we can. Everyone's doing their best they can. I do want to thank Kenny and thank the Secretary of State for handling a very difficult situation and doing the best they could. Everyone worked hard. It wasn't perfect, but we got through it, and we'll perfect that, I'm sure, Kenny, for the November election in the event that it's got to be an all-male type election as well. So thank to all the people that work long hours at the Board of Elections taking care of that and getting through it. I want to talk just a little bit the House of Representatives work schedule. Bob mentioned what the Senate's doing. Of course, nothing can get through unless both chambers are working together and approving each other's bills. We're supposed to go in this next week. That's iffy now. And so we'll likely be going next week. Committees will be starting right away. They have protocols established so that we have proper distancing and we're being as healthy as we can. I am told the speaker's conference call that we're only going to have sessions when we really have urgent issues to get through. And he's pretty much left it up to the committee members, committee chairs to do committees as they see fit. But again, proper protocol. Work has to get done. We got to keep moving along. It'll be different. We'll have different priorities perhaps, but we've got to keep doing the work of the people. Towards that end, I'm sure many of you folks are aware, but originally 30 of my colleagues in the House of Representatives and myself signed an Open Ohio Responsibly Framework letter. And there's probably more of the 99 representatives on it right now, which basically is asking, encouraging the governor to open up responsibly, open up safely, but let's get the economy going. There are, it's always that balance of safety versus the economy. We feel like we're at that point where we can trust business owners and others to do the right thing to some extent. So if you want to see that, Don, I will email you that document so you can put it on your page, and your members can look at that and give me a call if they care to. And lastly, besides thanking everyone out there for doing what they needed to do, it's not easy, it hadn't been fun, and we're not over it yet. A part of getting back to business, I want to just mention, when I met with the Secretary of the Air Force with others, I talked to her personally. There are two issues that are not mission directed for all mission movements and BRACs. One was reciprocity, and we've taken care of that. As a matter of fact, 90 days was yesterday, so the bill should be active today if someone applies for a license in Ohio and using their leaving state license. But the other one was education, K-12 education. And I've got a bill ready, and I'm going to run it through the House, where we're giving vouchers for military dependents to take care of that. It'll be paid for the state. Now, again, as Bob said, we're not in the same position financially as we were in the past, but I still want to get that on the books and start moving that and let the DOD know that we're serious about taking care of all the items that we can take care of in order to make this place, Wright Pat and the state of Ohio, to be as friendly and receptive to military opportunities. With that, I am hanging around, and I'll be ready for any questions anyone has at the end. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Rick. We appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the screen Representative Bill Dean. I believe he's in the room. Representative Dean, can you hear us? Representative Dean, you've been unmuted. Okay, I'll go ahead and move forward, and he may be having some microphone issues, so we will see if we can get him in at some point. Before I move on to a substitute, do we have Commissioner Glasser in the room? No. All right, Commissioner Gould, if you have 5 minutes. I know you were serving as a backup, so.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending in these strange times. What we're doing at the county, just to let you know, we were in a good cash position, fortunately, before this all happened. Yesterday, I spoke with our administrator, and at this point, of course, everything is unknown, but we are expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of a $16 million loss of revenue for the year. Our general fund revenues are generally in the $55 million range, so that's very significant. But again, because of the fiscal policies we've had over the years, we are in a position to weather this pretty well. Some of the things that the county itself is doing, and I'm sure that we can share these if anyone wants to know what we are doing specifically to reopen. We are going to reopen on the 4th. We're going to operate at 50% staffing. Our offices will be staffed during the regular hours with staggered shifts. So we will have folks operating 1 week with one group half of the staff, 1 week with the other half of the staff. PPE, face coverings will be required. For now, our offices will be closed to the public as far as physically closed. They'll be available by phone. Barriers have been installed where necessary to keep social distancing. We're only going to have one person per vehicle. We're going to encourage awareness during personal time. No in-person meetings. We have implemented a hiring freeze, cut spending to only essential purchases, limited house visits, and that's with our folks that do outreach, children's services, jobs and family services, and other agencies. County service work orders will be limited to necessary jobs. Drop boxes for mail will be installed. Many have already. Many of the elected officials have installed them, and those that haven't will be getting those. Interoffice mail only if necessary and avoid when possible. We are going to screen our employees reporting to work. Our risk management department will cover that. County Services has ordered PPE and hand sanitizer to supplement department supplies. We're going to have increased custodial cleaning services, still have no travel. Some work from home will be continued if possible. And wash your hands on a regular basis and wipe down the common areas on a regular basis. So again, those are what we've instituted at the county, and if anyone would just like a list of that, we can supply that. Some other things that are going on in the county outside of the coronavirus. Probably the biggest thing is our sanitary engineering, our water and wastewater treatment. We are rebuilding and redoing our water department and doing approximately a $90 million renovations and improvements to increase capacity and the like. Additionally, it'll get us off of Montgomery County water, which will save us about $500,000 a year. We completed a study in the Sherrod Creek Township area, and originally we thought we would need a new water tower in that area, but with some additional piping and the like, we will be able to meet all of the water needs projected in the future. So that'll save about $3 million. We are going to be going to a soft water, so folks that are currently on county water that have water softeners, you'll still be able to use those, but just for polishing, your salt capacity or salt usage should drop dramatically. We're going to soften it to about the same as what Montgomery County's water is at this time. And the big thing with this, because of the way our debt structure has been and the favorable interest rates now, we do not anticipate any increase in rates to complete all this, and that'll be at least for the next 5 or 6 years, there'll be no increase in rates. And that's all I've got for now, but I'll be available for questions. And again, thanks to everybody for coming out.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We truly appreciate it. Before I move on to questions, Representative Bill Dean, you are still in the room, it appears. Are you available via microphone? Okay, we're not getting anything. If for some reason something does come online, please feel free to jump in. So at this time, we'd like to move on to questions via the chat window. Some of you have already submitted some of those questions, and I appreciate that. I do have just a couple of comments to different legislators before we move to the actual questions themselves. We know time is tight, and so we will try to keep everything on task as the best of our ability and ending the meeting at 10 a.m. If there are additional questions, please see the contact information for each of the representatives that are in the room today. So at this time, I have the couple comments. A huge thank you to Senators Brown and Portman and Congressman Turner for their support of the CARES Act. Clark State deployed our student support monies from CARES last week, one of the first in the nation to disperse. Thank you again for making Pell eligible students a priority. And one other comment that we did have was from Dave Deskins. So those of you who have attended a legislative breakfast in the past know that we typically hold these out at the Career Center. Dave wanted to share that he is excited to host us at the new Career Center next year. So the plan is to be up and open and running. So we'll be excited to do that. So thank you, Dave, for hosting us all these years. We've truly missed the delicious breakfasts that the students make. So next year we expect a great showing of all of attendees joining us for that event. All right, at this time, first question that we have that came through, and this is probably more at the state level, is what are Jobs Ohio and the Dayton Development Coalition doing to help with COVID-19?
So would you like me to answer?
I'm going to go ahead and let you unmute yourselves if you'd like to chime in to add. Yes, please.
Yeah, this is Senator Bob Hackett. Yeah, we've had discussions with them. Jeff has done a great job as the director of Jobs Ohio. So we know the emphasis when we get back to work is going to be on jobs, getting people back in employment. So not only are they working hard to protect the citizens of Ohio, but they're also working hard to lay the groundwork, that we recover. And as you know, I'm a businessman and we need to recover. I'm really worried about how long it's going to take us to recover. But so we have been in discussions with Jobs Ohio and the DDC. Jeff's done a fine job, and they know how important it is that we get it back. Rick, if you want to chime in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know if I was locked out. Yeah, no, Bob, your points are well taken. And I think that's a great question. Those folks work for us. I think, Amanda, you ought to write JP Nassif and Jeff Holdland and ask them to send that question, answer that question, send it and post it on your website, on all the chamber websites. So there's, us speaking on behalf of them. We can't do justice to what they're doing and how they're doing, even though we've had conference calls. They should be able to answer that question. And, that wouldn't have been a bad idea to have them somewhere available next time we get together. But I encourage you to go directly to them and ask them to do a white paper that we can throw on your websites.
No, I'm happy to do that. I know from correspondence that I receive, they're extremely active. We receive information from them pretty much on a daily basis. So we'll get them to put something together. Dave Burrows, are you in the room?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Do you have anything you'd like to just briefly add to answer this question?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Jobs Ohio is working on. They've spent well over $100 million buying PPP. If 30 million, just last week, they had already purchased $30 million worth of N95 masks. Those will be distributed to the healthcare industry across the state of Ohio. They created some loan programs for some of the smaller banks. They did some matching investments for companies that were more in the startup phase, where they have matched some loans, matched some fundraising. There's a lot going on. I can get some information together and send it to you so you can post. The information changes almost daily. I'm looking for one of my slides here that I can give you a little more.
I know I kind of put you on the spot. So we're happy to send out some information. Even if we got a one-page flyer, we could send to attendees who are here, and we could get it up on our website. Just of some brief things. So
yeah, we can get that together for you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things going on.
I think the protective equipment came from Apple, not Jobs Ohio, but I may be wrong.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward with a question to the federal level. Is the EIDL program coming back, or is that permanently closed for new applications?
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go, Sam.
Sure. So I know there was additional funds put in it last week, and I believe they should be open already for new applications. I'm not sure. I think, but if you mean by closed, I think you meant that it had ran out of funds with the PPP program. But I know there were additional funds put in it last week, so that those funds should be available as far as my understanding. And if you, I'm not sure who asked the question, but if you want to reach out to me directly, you can with the contact information that Amanda has.
John
I know,
Mitchell,
Sam, what I have seen. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, no. Sam?
do they have to reapply for the PPP?
Can you repeat that?
Reapply for the PPP?
Reapply?
If you applied before, did not get accepted, do you have to reapply?
So if you applied before, that's a better question for your bank. My understanding is that if you were either approved before it ran out, that you should get the funds, or if you applied, that you should be in the queue. But that's definitely a question for your bank, that they will know whether or not you have to reapply.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. All right. Another question we have is, what is the status and timing of passing the funding for Ohio Public Works Commission funding projects that are on hold? The capital bill is the source of funding for the state capital improvement program, which includes small government and emergency programs. I'm trying to shorten, apologize. These are road and bridge projects in the state that were already approved for funding. Is there any estimation as to when these will become back active?
It's Senator Hackett. What I would tell you to do is contact ODOT and the deputy director, and he would let you know, if the funds are there. I mean, we know we have to keep investing in infrastructure. The capital budget is very little going into ODOT type of situation. So I would just advise them to talk to ODOT, and ODOT will tell them where everything is and the schedule everything is. Will the schedule change because of this virus? It might. I'm a financial person. It might. I mean, we're going to be in really difficult position to balance everything. But as of now, I would talk to ODOT and see what they say.
Yeah, I would agree, Bob. It not might. It's gonna change. It's gonna slip. There's no way it's not. But that money doesn't go away, and the capital improvements are important, or the transportation improvements. I would ask that if you email me that specific question, I'll get a hold of ODOT, the director, and have his staff send us whatever answer they have for that. I know they're not going to give us a very detailed specifics. They just can't, but they'll give us some general information. Maybe they see things slip in a month, 2 months. But of course, with construction, if we miss the construction window into early fall, then it slips all the way to 2021. So I'm sure they're working on it, and I'm happy to talk to him. As a civil engineer, I'm happy to talk to him a little bit, find out what's going on, and get that back to you guys. And again, you can post it on your website.
Thank you, Rick. We appreciate that. To the legislative members, what has been your recommendation to the governor regarding the stay-at-home order, particularly in light of the fact that the outlook for the virus creep is still very murky, probably state level?
Well, I would, Bob, I know you've got your view. As I said earlier, we signed that letter, Open Ohio Responsibly. I think the majority of the House, which isn't being heard very much, and that isn't to disrespect the executive, they've had to move fast, and it's hard to get 99 people in, especially now, and get their perspective. But I think the majority of the House wants to responsibly get back to work and to maybe defer some of the responsibility of safety to the business owners and the people. We have to trust them. We can't dictate everything. And I think that we are thinking, and I'm talking in general, but I know I have 30 of my peers, at least, that signed up, that there are a lot of negative effects of this that we aren't quantifying, that's out there. And you folks know that better than anyone, the business owners, versus how many lives we save. I mean, there's a pros and cons on this, and we think we can move quicker than the executives want, but we're not saying recklessly, we're saying in a responsible manner. Bob?
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, Rick, I totally understand. And, I'm a businessman. I want to get back to work. The one thing that I keep emphasizing, though, is we need to have legislation in place to protect the business community, because the lawsuits are going to come out of the woodwork. on this situation. Think about this, you know, you have a situation where someone goes back and they think they're adhering to the rules and one of their employees dies. Think of the potential lawsuit, et cetera. So we need somehow develop legislation for the companies that come back and act responsible and protect those people. So we got to get through this. I mean, the question is, do we wait on the vaccine and the treatment? You know, it's killing the rural areas especially, and we're not seeing the effect of the virus is bad in the rural areas. So you know, I'm for one, I can understand why we need to get back to work, but I also understand we need to protect the citizens. It's a tough dilemma.
Right, I understand. Thank you, Ukraine. This one's for the commission level. Commissioner Gould spoke to Greene County working on the softening water supply. When will that be completed?
The final engineering stages, but I think in the south, let me make sure you're talking just the south water supply, the Cornerstone, Sherrod Creek Township. Is that correct?
The softening water supply.
The softening water. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We're about 90% complete on the engineering, and we just awarded some contracts, but I believe we're probably 2 to 3 years out before we actually flip the switch. And of course, it'll be phased in because you don't want to go from hard water to soft water right away. And so again, about 3 years. And part of this also, we are going to be going to reverse osmosis as part of our softening, which will also filter out many things that we don't even know are there. A lot of PFAS and some of those other things will be filtered out through this process.
Amanda, that should be up and running in 2021.
Thank you, we appreciate it. For the Senate reps, does it look like there will be some federal relief for county and municipal governments coming in the near future?
I can take that one. So there's funding for municipalities kind of came in two different scenarios. One was for localities over 500,000. They were able to apply directly to Treasury. We did push when CARES Act was in the middle of negotiating. We did push for that threshold to be lower, but unfortunately it stayed at 500,000. For municipalities, localities under 500,000, there is funding available. The state got, I think, about $2.2 billion just a few weeks ago. And so my understanding is some of that goes to the state, and then the other half is up to DeWine and the legislator. And I think they're still working on, and maybe they can speak to this, I think they're still working on how some of that will be distributed towards localities. But on top of that, we've also heard the concerns for additional funding. So we will be looking at that in the next stimulus package. As well. And to the person that asked the question on EIDL earlier, I had an opportunity to look through my notes. So right now, the program is only open for those existing applications that were already in the system. Once they go through those, that's when they'll open it up to new applications, unless that money were to run out. But I do know that additional EIDL funds and PPP funding are on the table for the next stimulus package as well. So sorry about that. I just wanted to clarify.
That's great. Thank you. Mike, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I was just saying Senator Brown has had conference calls with the county associations and the Ohio Mayor's Alliance. And he, and I believe Senator Portman, did a joint letter asking the leadership to develop robust and dedicated flexible investments to towns and cities, which would also include revenue replacement. And I believe a few weeks ago, the White House did support, they support something like that. But that's something that's definitely a priority for Senator Brown.
Great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Representative Dean, I know you did not get your time. Do you have about a 3-minute short if we unmute you?
Sure.
Go ahead and try.
Can you hear me?
There we
Can you
go.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, my take is
Yes.
different on all this stuff. This is all perpetrated by the Democrats to get Trump out of office, and some of the Republicans also. And it's just a farce, and it's just all BS. And we need to eliminate all the rules and let the private sector do what they do best and get back to work. And it's been perpetrated by a bunch of snowflakes that are running our country.
All right.
That's all I got to
Thank
say.
you, Representative. Thank you, Representative Dean. Dave Burrows, you have a quick update for us on the question. If you could go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to give a quick rundown of what Jobs Ohio has done to date. So far, over 32 million units of PPE. That's in conjunction with the state of Ohio. We actually have Elaine Bryant, former Air Force, who is working with the state on the logistics of that. They've spent over $60 million to date. They've actually got $10 million. They're working with the airports in Ohio, the major airports, to help them get ready for a jump start, and working with the airlines. They've bought back over $1.4 million in liquor from our local liquors, not necessarily liquor stores, excuse me, our restaurants. The restaurant owners got stuck with their high-end liquor, and Jobs Ohio did buy $1.4 million back so far. They've done $4 million in deferred loans. They've done $50 million in forgivable loans. Those are to the companies that currently had incentives with Jobs Ohio. Those are 6-month loans. They get $600,000 loans, and those will be forgivable. They've also worked in our Appalachian region. There's a $2 million loan that's already helped 40 businesses in Appalachia for the state that needed some significant help. And then there's a convertible debt that they're working on. There's $50 million available. They've already worked with 37 businesses to help them, which is over 1,200 jobs retained and 120 million in payroll. And then, like I said earlier, there's a community bank loan program they're working with. And so far, they've obligated $50 million for that. And we are working with all the regional companies that we've been working with for a few years now to help them with the ability to get that money. And also, they have deferred any of the reporting requirements for the rest of this year. So companies with incentives will not have to report this year, and then they can start back up next year, because obviously it's going to be very difficult this year. So that's a quick and dirty. Thanks, Amanda.
Amanda?
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, we asked in the last conference call about liquor license fees. Since the bars and restaurants aren't open, they're not making money, they're still paying rent, and they pay a lot of monies to Jobs Ohio for their fees, monthly fees. Has anything come of that? I know there's many legislators that are looking out for their restaurants and bars and trying to help them not have to shut down permanently.
As far as I know, they're going to, I can't say the definites. I don't know exactly what that is, because that's in conjunction with the state liquor control. But I have heard that they're relaxing that for the bars and businesses.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. I know we kind of put you on the spot there in the beginning. So thanks for coming back with some information for us. And again, we'll get some information to put up on our website. We have a page on the Beaver Creek Chamber website, and I know many of the other chambers do as well, but there's a lot of information out there for the businesses. So we want to make sure that you guys do use those resources and see those. So at this time, it does not appear that we have any other questions.
Amanda, this is Al Cummings. I did have a question. Maybe it didn't get to you. This would be for the county commissioners. Any consideration given in light of our fiscal situation, any consideration given to pushing the water upgrade, the $90 million water upgrade downstream a little bit? maybe slow rolling segments of that. That would seem to be an opportunity to preclude spending.
Thank you, Al. It looks like
Dick, you're muted, Dick.
we have about 30 seconds for that.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Tom, I can hear you.
Okay, that money is coming from the enterprise fund through the water department. It has nothing to do with the general fund. There's no money off the general fund. What the money that's going to be used to finance that is through bonds, and we have bonds that are falling off that are going to be paid for, and we're going to then use that hole, so to speak, to fund this new process. There will be no increase.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
no
Just a
general
thought.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. If you have additional questions, there is contact information on the screen right now. We will be uploading this via YouTube, so if there's anything that you want to go back and refer to that any of the legislators or their staffers did present this morning, we do encourage you to do that. I expect that to be up by this afternoon. Again, I want to thank all of our legislators and their representatives for joining us today. Thank you to everyone, including all the Greene County Chambers who were in attendance today. We want to make sure everyone stays healthy, stay safe, and be sure to use your chamber as continued resources during these difficult times. Thank you again, everyone, and